You ever get that feeling where you've spent 20 years working with materials that scream at you when you mess up? Wood cracks, steel sparks, but leather? Leather just sits there and holds a grudge. It remembers every stray mark, every shaky cut, and every drop of coffee you accidentally liberate from your mug.
Is that why you've been smelling like a saddle shop for the last 3 days? I was wondering if you'd finally given up on the sawmill and joined the cavalry.
It's a captivating scent, isn't it? Earthy, rich, and expensive. But honestly, I've been diving back into the fundamentals of leathercraft lately. There's something deeply grounding about it. No power tools crying in your ears, just the rhythmic thud of a maul and the slide of wax thread. It's the ultimate kitchen table craft.
It's definitely having a moment. I'm seeing hand-stitched wallets and heritage belts everywhere. But for someone like me, who looks at a raw cowhide and just sees a very large, expensive puzzle, where do you even jump in without losing your shirt?
That's the beauty of it. You don't need a 5,000 square foot hanger. You need a sturdy table and about $50 worth of steel. But before you buy a single tool, you have to understand the meat of the matter. We usually talk about two main flavors, veg tan and chrome tan.
Okay, I've heard those terms thrown around. Sounds like a choice between a salad and a bumper.
Not far off. Vegetable tan leather, veg tan, is the old school stuff. It's treated with tannins from tree bark. It's firm, it smells like a library, and it develops that beautiful patina everyone raves about. If you want to carve designs into it or stamp your initials, this is your only dance partner.
And chrome tan? I'm guessing that's the softer stuff?
Exactly. Tanned with chemicals, much faster to produce. It's what your car seats and most department store jackets are made of. It's supple, comes in every color of the rainbow, but it won't hold a stamp shape, and it's a nightmare to burnish the edges. For a beginner, I always suggest grabbing a small, single shoulder of veg tan. It's a manageable cut of the hide, high quality, and it behaves predictably.
You mentioned burnishing. I've seen people doing that with a little wooden wheel. It looks like magic. How does a piece of wood turn a fuzzy leather edge into something that looks like polished plastic?
It's just friction and patience, Alex. You're essentially melting the fibers together. I remember the first time I tried it, I thought I needed some high-tech chemical. I ended up slathering my project in way too much edge dye, and it looked like a toddler had tried to paint a fence. Turns out, a little bit of water or gum tragacanth and a piece of scrap canvas can give you a better edge than the fanciest machine in the world.
So, let's talk tools. If I'm at my kitchen table and I've got my piece of veg tan leather, what's actually in my hand? I'm assuming I shouldn't just grab the kitchen shears.
Please, for the love of your fingers, put the kitchen shears back. You need a good cutting tool. A rotary cutter is great for curves, or just a really sharp utility knife with replaceable blades. That's tip number one. If the blade isn't sharp enough to shave with, you're not cutting leather, you're tearing it.
I've seen these things that look like multi-pronged forks. Are those for eating lunch while you work?
Those are stitching chisels, or pricking irons. Since leather is basically a stack of dense fibers, you can't just shove a needle through it like you're darning a sock. You have to pre-drill your holes. You hit that iron with a maul, a heavy-headed hammer, usually made of poly or rawhide, and it creates perfectly spaced slits.
Wait, a maul? Why not just a regular claw hammer? I've got 3 of those in the junk drawer.
Don't do it. A metal hammer will mushroom the top of your expensive chisels, and more importantly, it has no give. A poly maul absorbs just enough of the shock so the tool doesn't bounce. I learned that the hard way when a hammer strike sent a brand new diamond chisel skittering across a piece of grade A hide, leaving a scar right across the middle of what was supposed to be a gift for my wife.
I bet that went over well. Happy anniversary, here's a wallet with a custom gash in the front.
She still has it actually, calls it character. But that brings up the big one, the saddle stitch. This is the gold standard. Unlike a sewing machine, which uses 2 threads that lock in the middle, a saddle stitch uses 1 long thread with a needle on each end. The threads pass through every hole from opposite sides.
So if one thread breaks, the whole thing doesn't just unravel like a cheap sweater?
Precisely. It's practically indestructible. It's also incredibly meditative. Once you get the rhythm, left needle through, right needle over the top, pull tight, you can just zone out. It's the closest a shop rat like me gets to yoga.
Okay, let's get practical. If I'm starting tomorrow, what's the first win? What's the project that won't make me want to throw the mall through the window?
Start small. A keychain or a card wallet, something that requires maybe 4 straight cuts and 12 inches of stitching. Most people want to build a full-size satchel on day one. That's a recipe for a very expensive pile of scrap. If you can make a card wallet that actually holds a credit card without it falling out, you've mastered 90% of the basic skills.
What about the oops moments? You've given us the gash in the leather story, but what's the mistake everyone makes that they don't realize they're making?
Not accounting for thickness. Leather is measured in ounces, which is a weird way of saying how many millimeters thick it is. I once tried to make a folding wallet out of 8-ounce leather. That's stuff you'd use for a heavy-duty holster. By the time I folded it over, it was 3 inches thick. I couldn't have gotten that thing into a pocket with a shoehorn and a prayer.
A literal fat wallet problem. I love it.
It was a brick. I ended up using it as a doorstop. But the takeaway here is that leather is forgiving in its durability, but unforgiving in its memory. If you mark it, it stays. If you cut it too short, you can't stretch it back like fabric. You have to respect the material's limits.
So, the Tiger Den wisdom for the aspiring leather worker?
Don't be afraid to make a mess of a cheap piece of scrap. Buy a belly cut, the cheapest part of the hide, and just practice your stitching. Get your hands used to the tension. Leatherworking is about the marriage of your hands and the material. It's a slow craft in a fast world, and there's something genuinely soulful about pulling that last stitch tight and seeing something you made that will probably outlive you.
I think I might actually give this a shot. Just don't expect me to start smelling like a stable anytime soon.
Give it a week. You'll be looking at old cowhides like they're buried treasure.